#1 women's wrestling show on the planet. My name is Stephanie Hardy, and I'm the host and creator of the Hardy Wrestling Podcast and a co-host of Women's Wrestling Talk. Thank you so much for joining us for our news edition of Women's Wrestling Talk. There's a lot to get into, so let's go. So, first on the docket, we have WWE superstars Scarlett and Kross announcing their engagement on social media. The longtime couple announced their engagement via Scarlett's Instagram and Twitter accounts, where they posted a picture of themselves smiling and her showing off her ring with the quote saying, "Pop the champagne, #I said yes." Now, of course, the two made their debut on NXT television on May of 2020, and she was his manager during both of his reigns as NXT champion. Now, since he has made his debut on the main roster on Monday Night Raw, they have not been seen together as a unit, but they've both been separated. So hopefully, in the future they will work together, but it's clear that their love is still strong. So we send a special congratulations to them and wish them all the best on their upcoming nuptials. Also in the news, we have Bianca Belair addressing when she found out that she was going to be facing Becky Lynch in that infamous 26-second SummerSlam match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Now, in a recent interview with Inside the Ropes, they asked her when exactly did she find out, or how exactly did she find out that she was going to be facing Becky Lynch in that match. And she stated that she found out after she hit the ring, and she was quoted as also saying it was a very, very late and last minute call. Now, Belair also stated that once she found out, all of the emotions that we saw play out on her face, from the shock and awe to the absolute devastation of her losing the championship, were all very much real, because everything had just happened and it was an entire roller coaster from beginning to end. Now, as it stands, she's still in the championship picture as she's set to face off against Becky Lynch in a feud, but then another X Factor was added in Extreme Rules when Sasha Banks was added to the match as well, and to that title picture as well, because of course she had been gone since before SummerSlam, and nobody knew if she was going to show up for that match, which allowed for Becky Lynch to have that spot, which allowed for her to win. So no one knows exactly what's going to happen, but it's clear that the EST is never going to let anybody bring her spirit down. So we wish her the best in her pursuit of the SmackDown Women's Championship. Also in the news, we have AEW possibly introducing a secondary women's championship. Now, according to Andrew Zarian of the Mat Men podcast, All Elite Wrestling is looking to add a secondary women's championship in the near future. The secondary title is slated to be called the TBS Championship, which would be a sister companion to the TNT Championship currently being held by Miro, aka God's favorite champion, and formerly known as Rusev in WWE. Now, both of AEW's flagship shows, Rampage and Dynamite, are slated to move to TBS in January of 2022. So this should be an amazing opportunity for those women who cannot necessarily reach for the AEW Women's World Championship that's currently being held by Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. And it would give them a prize to fight for on the mid-card title, as opposed to struggling to find time to get in a women's title picture that they might not be able to get in at that moment. So kudos to AEW for giving more of their women an opportunity with a secondary title. But this is just a report. Nothing has been confirmed or announced from All Elite Wrestling. And finally, we have Impact Knockouts facing off against the top talent of all over the world in Special Knockouts Knockdown Tournament. Now, Impact Hall of Famer and first ever Knockouts champion Gail Kim announced that the Knockouts Knockdown Tournament will be one night, and it will feature 4 Impact Wrestling Knockouts facing off against the top women's wrestlers in all of the world, and whoever wins this grueling tournament will receive a future Knockouts Championship match. And the Knockouts Championship is really hot right now, considering it's being held with an iron grip by Miss Deonna Purrazzo, aka the Virtuosa. So it's clear that whoever wins this title will be able to fight for it and fight fair for this amazing title. That's all for this edition of Women's Wrestling Talk, the news edition. Please be sure to follow us on Instagram and on Twitter at WWTalkPod, and visit our website at www.talkpod.com. And you can follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy, and follow my podcast, the Hardy Wrestling Podcast, at Hardy Wrestling Podcast, and on Twitter at Hardy WrestlePod. Thank you so much for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.